It only took Huskers head coach Matt Rhule 1 week to secure a new secondary coach. As expected, former Bills secondary coach and passing game coordinator John Butler has officially taken that same title at Nebraska. Butler comes to Lincoln after 6 seasons in Buffalo, 3 seasons with the Texans, and 2 at Penn State under Bill O'Brien, one of which he was the defensive coordinator for the Nittany Lions.